And a very happy Wednesday to you at 12:08 in the West. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios. Mr. Randy Wangs at the sports desk in Culver City.
John, earlier in the week, Governor Gavin Newsom and his wife had a big old press conference at a library in Elk Grove to talk about all the accomplishments Gavin has had in education. And he was so passionate about getting the information out, he turned into a 14-year-old teenager.
I can honestly continue. And the point is, I should, because people need to know this. They deserve to know this.
Whenever he gets nervous, we get the train whistle.
They deserve to know this.
That voice starts cracking like he just dropped, well, you know what he dropped.
800-222-KABC is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Given the news cycle that we've faced over the last several weeks, or really you can go back farther than that, in California since the beginning of the pandemic, it's really an interesting experience to sit in front of the television and watch the local news with someone from South America. Have you ever done that before, Randy?
I have not.
Okay. Let me tell you what it's like to watch the news with a room full of Brazilians. We see the stories of the smash and grabs. We see the stories of the crime. We see the stories of the carjackings. And it takes about 5-10 minutes into the newscast before they tell you how much California reminds them of Brazil. And I said, why does California remind you of Brazil? Because nobody speaks English and has had a bunch of plastic surgery? And they say no, although that is true. It reminds us of Brazil because of everything that you have to deal with on a daily basis. Brazil, of course, is a beautiful country with beautiful music, beautiful people, phenomenal food, and a great history and great culture. However, they're not without their problems. And when they start showing you pictures of the homes in Brazil, the homes are very nice. They like the same type of architecture as us. They have amazing views like us. They have great weather like us. But when they show you the pictures of their family residences in Brazil, the first thing you'll say is, what's with the barbed wire? And they say, that's what you need around the perimeter of your house to keep the criminals out. And I said, I don't know if that works aesthetically with the way you're going with the architecture. And they say, doesn't matter, that's what you need. It's one step away from a moat with alligators. Then you start seeing these videos of them driving around the streets of Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo or some of the other cities, Ipanema. And you ask the question, how come nobody's stopping at a stoplight? And the answer is because if your car is stopped, you might get carjacked, so you got to keep it moving. Randy, I'm starting to think we are becoming Brazil.
It sure sounds like it with all the
rising crime in California.
And today in particular, it's just one after another, after another, after another, which means it's the perfect day to do an extended version of the KABC Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, the first edition of the Crime Blotter takes us to the Los Angeles City Council.
That's right. In the wake of burglaries and robberies forcing establishments up and down the city of Los Angeles to go cashless so they're not a sitting target, one LA City Councilwoman, Heather Hutt, wants to ban that practice because it's not equitable.
Oh, God. The small businesses are putting the thieves out, so we have to make sure that doesn't happen.
For more, here is KCAL.
It seems like more and more stores are going cashless lately. Many are ditching cold hard cash, only accepting credit and debit cards to stave off thieves.
KCAL News reporter Joy Benedict live in Sherman Oaks with one LA City Councilwoman's efforts to ban those cashless businesses. Joy?
How dare those restaurants try to protect their livelihoods?
And their customers.
That's right. We're seeing it more and more, right? You go to pay for something, the sign says credit only, no cash, all up and down the street here, not only in Ventura Boulevard and Sherman Oaks, but really all over Los Angeles and the nation.
You know, I hear there are some establishments on Santa Monica Boulevard where you can take it out and trade.
But some are saying that is unfair, as too many people in this community don't have access to credit.
Okay, stop the tape for a second. We do this every so often. We pretend like there is this huge population of people who live amongst us who can't do the basic things in society. We can't require you to show photo ID to vote because there are people who don't have access to driver's licenses. Oh, yeah, who? Who doesn't have access to a driver's license? It's not hard to get a driver's license. You don't even need to pass the test. You could just go down to the DMV and get an ID card. Who can't get to a DMV? They're all over the place. You can always tell because they're the ones with the lines out the door that never move.
Well, and it's got to be incredibly easy to get a driver's license because I've seen how people drive here.
That's right. But now there are people that don't have access to credit cards. They did an entire episode of Married with Children one time about how easy it is to get a credit card because a credit card company sent a credit card to Buck the dog. If dogs can get credit cards, so can people.
And who doesn't have a bank? Unless, you know, you're doing something a little shady.
They act like there's this massive population of outlaws, of people who are just off the grid. They don't have picture ID. They don't have credit cards. They don't have an address. Why do you expect that of them?
And they need tacos, too.
On any given Tuesday, tacos and tequila are the draw at
Okay, that's some good alliteration right there. Tuesday, tacos, tequila.
Not up to Mark Brown's level, though.
No, that's the legend. That's the gold standard for alliteration.
On any given Tuesday, tacos and tequila are the draw at Casita in Sherman Oaks. And as patrons settle up, plastic seems to be the preferred payment, except for this diner.
I work at a restaurant where I get tips, so if I want a quick go, if I need to buy something, I would just use my cash.
But Shaquille Reeves admits it's getting harder and harder as the cash crown is tarnishing, as some businesses go cashless.
I understand that it's a transition and it's a new age, but I just think that some things should stay the same.
Yeah, but it's about the break-ins.
Yes. This is not like we're now living in the future. This is not Tomorrowland at Disneyland. We're doing this because the state refuses to arrest the people who are breaking into the restaurants and robbing the restaurants. And we've totally lost hope in their ability to do that in the future. So we're just trying to protect ourselves in the meantime.
And that's exactly what L.A. City Council member Heather Hutt thinks, too. As the 10th District
appointed L.A. City Council member.
That's right. Gee, I wonder why she's pro-criminal. Oh, yeah, that's right. The one that served in that office before her is now awaiting sentencing.
As the 10th District official presented a motion to ban all cashless establishments in Los Angeles.
So we just had the massive break-in at the Nordstroms with the big flash mob there, the flash mob of the Americana. There's a Nike store in East L.A. that's getting robbed every single day. And the L.A. City Council wants to do this?
Because they think that the victims are the ones with the privilege that need to check themselves.
Well, if all these establishments stop taking cash, then how are the robbers going to eat?
They might have to get a job. Humanity.
We need equity. We need to ensure that there's opportunity for everybody to participate in this economic space called Los Angeles.
She says going
God rue the day if she actually gets elected to that job.
Since when can they appoint someone? How many people are we paying for that job?
I think we were still paying Mark Ridley Thomas up until he got convicted. For a while, we were paying Herb Wesson to illegally have yet another term in that seat, and we're paying her.
Okay, so there was one 4-year term, and we've paid 3 people to serve in that office.
Yes. And then when we suspended Mark Ridley Thomas, he sued for all his back pay and won.
That's right. And of the 3, one is going to prison so far, but there's still time.
She says going cashless is unfair for those without banks or who are underbanked, meaning they have no access to credit cards.
Also, if you're a senior citizen, right? You don't have that technological savvy. You're not about to hit the square and pay on Cash App. You use cash, you use Tinder.
The FDIC's most recent study showed that people of color are more likely affected. In 2021, 25% of black households and 24% of Latino households were underbanked, compared to 9%.
Isn't that just a nice way of saying they have crap credit?
Okay, and how about the racial makeup of the people who are getting robbed? You got a taco restaurant in L.A.? My guess is the Swiss don't own that.
I mean, you look at all the taco trucks that are getting robbed on a regular basis. That is exclusively 100% the poorest among us, the immigrant community, and they're getting robbed on a regular basis because they only take cash.
That's right. But they're schizophrenic with how they see the immigrant community. When the immigrant community is doing what they want them to do, they are part of the group that needs equity, and they need the laws to favor them. But when they see them as being the victims of crime, or they see them as business owners, or they see them in some sinister context, then they need to check themselves.
Compared to 9% of white households.
When I first came to LA, I didn't have a debit card. So I was just here and I was just using cash. So I would have been out, so I have a soft spot for that area.
And so does this restaurant.
That's a small percent. I would say it's probably a little under 10%. But that's kind of a lot.
Paul Carroll is a partner in the ownership group. He says they consider going cashless, especially after some restaurant chains like Home State and Tacos 1986 got tired of burglars breaking in and looking for cash.
All these fantastic taco establishments have finally come to Sherman Oaks, and the robbers are chasing them out of town.
Think about this for a second. The businesses don't want to do this. They don't want to go cashless. No business does. Because the minute you put everything on credit cards, there is a spreadsheet where the government knows exactly what's going into your business and what's going out of your business. You can't fudge the numbers at all. If you're a server, you, of course, want cash tips because then you can tell the government what it is that you brought in, and maybe that number is accurate and maybe that number is not. It's your choice, though, what you put on the tax form. If you're owning the business, cash transactions are great. Because I would imagine that not all of those cash transactions get rung up into the system, and some of them go straight into the pockets of the owner. The owner has every possible motivation to be in an all-cash business, unless the city is so unsafe that letting the crooks know that there's cash in your possession or in possession of your customers or your safe makes you a target, and you've been hit one too many times to where you finally have said, all right, uncle, I've had enough. I'm not doing this anymore. So if you want them to go back to accepting cash, there's a real easy way to do it. And that way is to make the city safe again.
So they removed their registers and went cashless to deter thieves.
We discussed it, but I think that's just too big of a percentage to give up.
Customers are glad they kept it old school because they want the option to pay however they choose.
You guys take the cash. Take the cash, man. Ain't nothing wrong with $20. Take the cash.
The hell just happened there?
Got very excited.
You could tell somebody knew that they were going to be on TV and they wanted to make a soundbite to remember.
You guys take the cash. Take the cash, man. Ain't nothing wrong with $20. Take the cash.
And then he called all of his friends and said, you got to watch KCAL tonight.
You guys take the cash. Take the cash, man. Ain't nothing wrong with $20. Take the cash.
Take the cash, right? So the next step would be for the city attorney to draft an ordinance. So we don't know all the details of this proposal yet, but
will the city council be doing anything to compensate the businesses because now they're sitting ducks?
No. All they have to do, if they want to improve the lives for the business owners, the customers, the people in the community, make it safe for people to go to their favorite taco shop and pay for tacos however they choose. If it's not safe for them to use cash, they will modify the way they transact or conduct their transactions. That's just how it works. But the city has no interest in beefing up the police department and letting the cops do what they need to do to bring law and order back.
but we know that the council members' intent is to ban cashless establishments for the entire city. This would include Crypto.com Arena and Dodger Stadium, who have already gone cash-free. Guys.
You know, I don't like the fact that an appointed member of the city council that was appointed as a caretaker has this much power to do something like this.
It seems like the party of democracy really isn't interested in that. If you want to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Well, John, we're getting a lot of people emailing us about the fact that Barbara Ferrer is going to be throwing out the first pitch at the Dodger game on Sunday at 12:40. This email comes from Katie P. John, I suggest that Barbara Ferrer practice her pitching by throwing potatoes.
Is there a particular candidate for U.S. Senate who might be able to help her out with that?
Well, yes, I believe it's the author of this email, Katie Porter. Although she misspelled her own name in this email.
You know, I wonder how they decided to let the fake doctor throw out the first pitch. Why, for example, are they giving her the first pitch and not doing a fake doctor bobblehead doll?
Yeah. Well, you got to think about it. It's L.A. County Day this Sunday at Dodger Stadium. All of the people that said no, because a lot of them have elections coming up next year, and nobody wants that footage of being on Dodger TV getting booed like Garcetti the last time he went to Dodger Stadium. So a lot of people said no. You needed somebody so oblivious to the fact that the majority of the county hates her guts that Barbara Ferrer thought this is a great idea.
No, thank you.
You know what would be really unfortunate?
What's that?
If people bought tickets near the field and they made signs that said fake doctor on them and held them up while she delivered the first pitch. That would be very unfortunate.
Yeah. Especially if that got captured on cell phone video or on Dodgers TV and ended up on YouTube and Instagram.
And disseminated all over the internet, far and wide. That would be truly unfortunate. If you would like to catch a podcast edition of this show anytime you choose, Randy, that's easy to do.
That's right. Just go to KABC.com, click on podcast, go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. Search for The John Phillips Show on YouTube. It is so easy to do, you will not even believe how easy it is to download this show.
I cannot believe it, quite frankly.
It's Woo Wednesday.
Ric Flair.
It's Woo Wednesday. Yeah, baby. Woo, 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 woo.
Right now, it's time to go back to the KABC Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this next installment, Randy, is the Al Bundy edition because it takes us to the shoe store.
That's right. There is a Nike store in East L.A. that apparently is getting robbed of thousands of dollars worth of shoes on a daily basis. And police are wondering if it's possible if it's connected to the jackasses at the Nordstrom and the Yves Saint Laurent last week.
Gee, I don't know, Andy and Barney. Maybe someone over there can connect the dots.
For more, let me turn off this music. For more, here is ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Called flash mob robberies seem to happen nearly weekly now in Southern California.
Latest incident, thieves swiping over $1,000 worth of merchandise from the East LA Nike store. Doesn't seem to matter that bystanders catch these thieves on video either. Our Sid Garcia is live in East LA with more on this latest brazen heist. Sid?
Hey, Randy, you know who you can rule out as a possible suspect in this crime spree immediately?
Who's that?
Shoeless Joe Jackson.
And when you see the videotape, you just see how casually the two suspects just walked out. And in talking to customers today, they are angry that maybe soon the store will restrict entrance into that Nike store.
You're going to have to wait here in the vestibule before you can buy shoes.
How about this? No one with a mask is allowed in.
That is the answer to a lot of these problems, because then all of a sudden security footage is useful again. But good luck getting that through in Los Angeles right now.
Well, they're going to pick a fight with you-know-who.
I know who. She's throwing the first pitch at the Dodger game on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to walk out.
A shopper at the East LA Nike store on Whittier Boulevard caught the two shoplifting suspects walking out with around $1,000 worth of merchandise.
There's the security. He's stealing.
It's all good, guys. I'm so sorry. Just let him go.
Just let him go.
That's the corporate policy. And, I don't want to blame the victim, but these corporations, they're part of the problem too. Because what happens is you have a company that's started by someone successful, and then their worthless children get the company when they finally roll a 7, or the company goes public and they hire all of these people from universities that have trained them to be woke. And so in many cases, the companies are woker than the politicians that run the cities. And if you have woke corporations, their point of view is, well, we don't want the bad publicity of having our security guards engage with people who are stealing from our store because we don't want anyone to get injured. We don't want any accusations of any kind of discrimination. So just put your hands in your pockets and watch it happen. The problem with this is that at some point, these stores just aren't profitable. And even if you're super woke, and even if ideologically you align yourself with the people who are stealing from you, at a certain point you have a fiduciary responsibility to your shareholders or your family to shut down the stores that aren't making any money. And if you become uninsurable, or in the cases of many of these retailers, a lot of these retailers don't even have insurance policies. They're self-insured. So when you steal from them, that's coming right off their bottom line. It's not like they file a claim with farmers. That's not how it works in many cases. So what will happen is they'll be totally woke, they'll stand by, they'll watch all of this chaos happen, and then they'll shut down the store and punish all of the people who live in that neighborhood who want to actually pay for the shoes.
You remember the Walgreens up in San Francisco that chained up the freezer section?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that same Walgreens, one day, reporters parked outside and found that 8 different people were detained for stealing from that store because there was a police officer doing his job standing outside. And of the 8 people that were detained, Walgreens refused to press charges against all 8 of them.
That's right, because they don't want accusations of discrimination.
There's the security. He's stealing.
It's all good, guys. I'm so sorry. Just let him go.
But the shopper...
At that point, if you're standing in line, why don't you just take some shoes, too?
Yeah. You're the dummy that's paying. The company doesn't care if you don't pay, so why pay?
But the shopper caught on her cell phone was just the latest in a string of organized robberies happening at Southland stores. At the Westfield Topanga Mall recently, around 30 thieves got away with more than $300,000 worth of merchandise at the Nordstrom store. There have been other similar robberies. Customers coming out of the Nike store today told us they heard about what happened here and they're angry about it. Candace Lopez says not too long ago, she's seen thieves run out of this store with trash bags full of merchandise.
And they booked it and went down the alley, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And it sucks because, us, that we work hard for our money to pay for stuff that we need for our kids. I'm a single mother, so it's hard. And then to see people do stuff like that, it pisses me off.
Especially when they get away with it.
Yeah. Well, change the way you vote, lady. If you change the way you vote, then maybe you'll get different government.
Luz Hernandez says what's frustrating is that stores may have to start restricting how many customers can come in.
Hi, welcome to Nike. Take a number.
You're probably going to have to monitor how many people can come in and out of the store.
Can I try on that pair of Airs? Sorry, they're all behind a glass case.
If you limit the number of people who go in the store, that's not going to stop it from being robbed. Because if your security guards have been given the note to not engage with people who are stealing, what's the difference if it all happens at once or it happens spread out through the day?
Out of the store, so you can try to prevent all these mobs coming in and, taking over the store and I think that's what needs to happen.
According to the LAPD, they're in contact with other departments, including the LA County Sheriff's Department, to see if any of these mob robberies are connected.
Gee, I wonder.
Is that really a question that needs to be asked?
It's too soon to say if they are connected or not.
Whether or not they're linked, they're organized. And my sense is that they are linked.
And there's nothing they can do about it.
And if they could do something about it, it wouldn't matter because the DA wouldn't charge them with a crime.
Again, too early to tell if they in fact are linked. And one of the things that came out of the police commissioners meeting today is that they're trying to organize or get together a sizable reward for information leading to arrests. And LAPD...
I don't know how sizable it's going to be. It's going to have to match what these people are making on the aftermarket with all the stuff they stole from Nordstrom's.
Yes, and there's no bail. So they're going to be released immediately, and then they have you-know-who leading the prosecution.
And LAPD, LA County Sheriffs are urging you, if you have any information on any of the suspects we just showed you, urge to give them a call.
You know, that part of every crime story in L.A. does not need to be aired anymore.
No, there's no point in even calling the cops if you know exactly who did it and you have it on videotape because the DA will not do anything with it.
Quite frankly.
But right now, we continue with the KABC Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, it wouldn't be an extended edition of the Crime Blotter if at least one of the stories didn't take us to Oakland.
A Mexican restaurant in Oakland was robbed, and it wasn't just cash they took. It was also tequila. For more, here's KTVU.
I have...
Oh, let me rewind that. Here we go.
New at 6, another burglary in Oakland. Caught on camera this time, tens of thousands of dollars in tips and tequila taken from a Mexican restaurant uptown. As KTVU crime reporter Henry Lee explained.
Now, do you think they were stealing Plaza Azul or were they stealing Cuervo?
I don't know, but last night they were a robin, and tonight they're tequila little time.
As KTVU crime reporter Henry Lee explains, the restaurant's owner says he's very frustrated and demanding that the thieves be held accountable.
Oh, he's an ambitious kid.
We need to do something because otherwise we can't survive.
Osvaldo Sanchez is frustrated and angry. He owns Agave Uptown restaurant in Oakland, which was broken into over the weekend.
It's hard. It's really hard because it's affecting our business really bad. It's not just that they break in, but now people's afraid to come and dine in with us.
You know, if you want to catch these guys, since they broke into the Mexican restaurant and stole all the tequila last night, you want to have armed police outside of every single Walgreens because tonight they're going to steal some Advil.
Well, I'll tell you, over the weekend, I saw some friends who live in Richmond, which is there in the East Bay. And they said it is so dangerous right now in Oakland, they won't even go there to eat. But you go right over the border into Alameda, and it's fine. Even though they're both in the same county, Pamela Price is the batty DA, the Soros-funded DA in that county, there is a huge difference between Alameda and Oakland. In Oakland, everyone knows right now it's absolutely anything goes.
Because you've got a combination. Insane DA and a struggling police department that is way below the ranks that they're used to. And a 911 that doesn't work.
Surveillance video shows two cars pulling up outside the restaurant at 22nd and Broadway at about 4:30 Saturday morning. Some people get out. They force open the lock on the main doors on Franklin Street.
So basically, they just break in right here, and then they broke the locks.
They went straight to the office where they used a long pry tool to get inside. They broke open a small safe containing $10,000 in worker tips.
I'd like to know what brand of safe that is, because it wasn't very safe.
No. And think about who they just stole from. These are people who clean the tables, bust the tables, who serve the food, who make the drinks, who prepare the food. These are blue-collar people living in the Bay Area, which is extremely expensive. Many of them probably commute from the Central Valley and places far away so they can pay their bills and put food on the table. They had $10,000 in tip money that was sitting there that is now stolen, and there's no insurance policy, I'm sure, that will cover that.
Because, like it or not, it's the money that they already work.
The thieves even stole 10 expensive bottles of tequila from a storage room. All told, Sanchez says the thieves caused $40,000 in damage and losses.
Yikes.
It's affecting us really bad. And a lot of families are relating on us. I have like 30, 40 employees.
Customers we spoke to say they're concerned.
I come here fairly regularly on business, and it doesn't feel safe, and it's getting less safe. So when we have the choice, we'll meet across the bay.
How desperate must people be if this keeps happening? And
what?
See, this is the problem. She's the type of person that votes for Pamela Price and Gavin Newsom and Mia Bonta and Rob Bonta and all of the people that create the laws that have made her city lawless. And she still doesn't get it.
how desperate must people be if this keeps happening? And
I know Les Mis is in town right now, but this is not Jean Valjean stealing the Clause Azul.
No, stop letting your kids major in English literature.
how desperate must people be if this keeps happening? And
those poor unfortunate souls just wanted to get hammered.
how desperate must people be if this keeps happening? And it's really sad for the owner and people trying to run their restaurant.
The Oakland Police Department is actively investigating this break-in. Anyone with information is...
I'm not playing that. There's no reason to.
No, it's pointless. Completely pointless. If you know who did it, you're like everyone else in the neighborhood.
If you know who did it, you probably got to drink some really good stuff last night.
Oh, yeah. On the rocks. You don't even have to mix that with any sweet and sour. Lime juice. Salt on the rim. None of that required.
Drink it straight. It tastes like cream soda.